As the door opened, the woman with flowing red hair greeted warmly, a bright smile lighting up her face. "Yea, here you are," she said, her voice soft yet full of anticipation. The warm light from the room cast a golden halo around her, highlighting her elegant figure and the charm in her gaze. The woman stood confidently, her elegant purple dress revealing just enough to make hearts skip a beat. The high slit on her thigh exposed black lace garters, adding a touch of daring allure to her graceful presence. The man facing her couldn't help but silently admire her beauty. The girl with pink hair clenched her fists, frustration rising inside her. "This guy is too much," she thought bitterly. "He gave me permission to study for exams, but instead he forced me to serve them." Her eyes flashed with resentment as she glanced at the tall man standing beside her, looking cold and composed. Without a word, his hand reached out, firmly wrapping around hers. She flinched at the sudden contact, feeling the weight of his silent authority. His grip wasn't rough, but it carried the unspoken message that she couldn't simply walk away. The red-haired woman leaned closer to the man, her lips curling into a seductive smile. "Yea, am I beautiful?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with confidence. The soft lighting reflected off her delicate features, making her even more dazzling in that moment. The man turned away from the red-haired woman, a sly smile tugging at his lips. "Next time," he said, locking eyes with the pink-haired girl. "See?" His voice carried a teasing arrogance. The red-haired woman's smile faltered slightly, sensing the shift in his attention. The pink-haired girl stood still, her eyes wide, heart pounding. His words struck her like a cold wind. She didn't reply, but her silence spoke louder than words. "He's shameless, evil. How can I wear like that? Never!" she screamed in her mind, even as she forced herself to obey his order. She picked up the bottle of wine, her movements stiff with suppressed emotion. With a steady hand, she poured the deep red wine into his glass. The rich liquid swirled like velvet, but her expression was far from calm. She kept her head down, refusing to meet his gaze, trying to keep her pride intact in this humiliating moment. Suddenly, before she could step back, a strong arm wrapped around her. "Hug!" The unexpected touch froze her in place. Her breath caught in her throat, a mix of shock and anger coursing through her. Their faces were so close that she could feel his warm breath against her skin. His eyes gleamed with a mix of amusement and dominance as he whispered, "Looking at this bottle, I suddenly wanted to know what you would look like when you're drunk." The words made her grip the bottle tighter, her heart pounding uncontrollably. He stepped even closer, wrapping one arm around her waist, pulling her against him. The bottle was trapped between them, her knuckles white from how tightly she held it. His presence was overwhelming, like a shadow that swallowed the light around her. She turned her head sharply, summoning every ounce of courage she had. "No!" she shouted, her voice trembling but determined. Her body twisted in protest, but his gaze remained calm and dangerous, as if her resistance only entertained him. His voice turned low and threatening as his grip tightened. "You can try to leave here," he warned softly, his lips curling into a chilling smile, "and I will show you the consequences of opposing me." His words slithered into her ears, making her shiver despite the warmth of the room. He held a glass of wine up to her face, forcing her to meet his gaze.
Her eyes wavered, filled with both fear and hesitation. She knew that no matter how much she wanted to fight, his power was something she couldn't easily defy. "Drink it all," he commanded, pushing the glass closer to her lips. His voice left no room for refusal. Her hand trembled slightly, but she reached for the glass, knowing she had no choice. With a resigned breath, she tilted the glass back and let the wine flow down her throat. The bitter, heavy liquid burned as it slid down, mixing with the feeling of helplessness that spread through her chest. The alcohol hit her fast, painting her cheeks a deep shade of pink. Her body grew warm, her eyelids heavy. So, can I go back to the room?" she asked in a faint, slurred voice, her words soft and uncertain. He smirked, his arm wrapping tighter around her waist as he whispered, "Sure, I will go with you." His words sounded gentle, but the weight of them pressed down on her, making escape impossible. Just then, the red-haired woman from earlier stepped forward with a sultry smile. Her voice dripped with sweetness and jealousy. "Yi, I'm drunk too. Can you go to the bedroom with me?" she asked, her eyes fixed on him. The air grew heavier, tension swirling between all three of them. The red-haired woman's lips curved into a playful, almost teasing smile, her voice soft, yet laced with jealousy. But before she could take another step closer, the man's tone cut through the air, calm and firm. "If you were drunk," he said coldly, "then you should go back to your bedroom yourself." His arms subtly tightened around the pink-haired girl beside him, as if declaring his choice without a second thought. The redhead's smile faltered, her eyes narrowing ever so slightly at the quiet rejection. Later, behind the closed door of the bedroom, he stood before her, holding up a delicate, revealing nightgown. The fabric shimmered faintly in the warm light, soft and seductive. His gaze was intense as he ordered, "Wear it for me." His words weren't a request, they were a command, and his eyes left no space for refusal. She looked up from where she was sitting, her body stiffening as her eyes landed on the garment dangling in front of her. The black and pink lace looked more like a temptation than clothing. His tall figure loomed over her, creating a sense of pressure that made her chest tighten. Her heart raced, and her mind screamed for escape, but her body wouldn't move. Her trembling fingers brushed against the fabric as she whispered, almost to herself, "This nightgown is too revealing. No, I can't. I can't wear it." Her voice cracked slightly, caught between fear, shame, and resistance. She clutched the soft material to her chest, shrinking into herself as if trying to disappear from the intensity of his gaze. Her flushed cheeks and tearful eyes revealed everything she was too afraid to say aloud. On the floor, she knelt with the nightgown gathered tightly in her lap, the hem of her simple pajamas peeking out from underneath. Her bare feet pressed against the cold ground, grounding her in this unwanted moment. The contrast between the modest clothes she wore and the revealing garment in her hands felt like a wall she could not cross. And yet, the weight of his silence above her hung heavy, pressing down like an unspoken threat. His voice was low and firm, his violet eyes locking onto her with a predatory calm. "Wear it," he murmured, the corner of his lips curving upward into a faint smirk. "I'll drop you 10 nights." The promise wasn't kind, it was calculated. 10 nights of freedom dangled like a reward before her, pulling at her fragile resistance. His expression left no doubt. This was an order disguised as mercy. She looked up to him, her cheeks flushed, her breath trembling. "But it's too revealing," she whispered, her voice breaking under the weight of shame and fear. Her violet eyes shimmered in the dim light, reflecting both her unwillingness and the helplessness tightening around her heart. The nightgown in her hand suddenly felt heavier, like a chain she couldn't break. He leaned closer, the smile still playing on his lips, but there was a sharpness behind it, a warning. "Then," he said softly, almost mockingly, "go get some sleep." The words were simple, but his gaze made it clear this wasn't permission to refuse. It was a reminder of the price she'd pay if she didn't comply. Her body trembled as his hand gripped her wrist. A strangled sound escaped her throat as she whispered, "All right, I'll wear it, I'll wear it." Her voice cracked under the pressure, and her body curled inward defensively, trying to protect the last bit of dignity she had left. His grip only tightened, satisfied with her surrender. As he released her, she sat there in silence, clutching the thin fabric to her chest. Her breath came in uneven bursts, her mind repeating one desperate thought over and over again. 10 nights. Be patient. I have to be patient. Her head hung low, her pink hair falling like a curtain around her face, hiding the flicker of tears in her eyes. Slowly, she raised her chin just enough to meet his gaze. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Let go of your hand." Even though she had agreed, a small part of her still clung to the hope of some control, however fragile it might be. Her fingers clenched the fabric tightly, her body tense, knowing that whatever happened next was no longer in her hands.